And so I actually lost my older sister in September 2022. She died from cancer. She was diagnosed not too long ago before she passed away. And because of her death, I became a lot closer to God, because I really wanted to know and understand what happened when people die. And I was trying to find answer from my brother and sister and get reinsurance, if she was going to be in heaven. But I knew the fact that she would not be in heaven, because, again, she was not a believer. And so that was kind of hard for me to swallow. And I know everybody wanted, be very kind and trying to console me in a way, but it's the truth. It's a sad truth. And I do pray every day that eventually she will be in heaven and find her peace, and pray that she will be in good hands. And that was hard, because I'm still struggling, trying to move forward, and I still grieve with her death. And because she's like the closest to me, even though we don't really communicate or hang out that much, because I moved far away from her, and she was dealing a lot of stuff in her life, and that it really hit me to the core. I do want to share another time. This was actually in Florida. It was not too long ago. I would say it was in 2022, probably October or November, one of those months. We encountered one incident that I literally took my risk of trying to went to rescue, Alice, because he got ambushed at his job. And I would say this is a moment that I realized what it means to have faith. So normally Alice would be home by, I would say, 1:30 a.m. Since he was working at the liquor store for a while, and they would close at 1 a.m. on the weekend, so he would have been home by 1:30, and it was like almost already 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., one of those times, and it was so late, and I was getting concerned, and I'm like, this is very unusual. And I remember he did text me around like 9 or 10 o'clock that night, asking what I'm up to, and he never answered back after that or respond to my call. I would text him, I call him, and there was no response from him, and that's when I started freaking out really, really bad. And so I was gonna even wait at home, hopefully he would respond, and I knew something was telling me, like, no, you have to go there. You need to go there. And then so I literally was, and hoping that the Uber driver would be available. I waited. There was one Uber driver available, especially after midnight, because normally they don't have any driver left after that time in our community. It's like dead. And so luckily there was one, and then it popped up, and it was on the way, and I had literally only 2-3 minutes to get ready, to get what I need, whatever. I couldn't find my portable charger for my phone. My phone was already halfway dead, and so I was freaking out about that. And I knew I was at risk with a dying phone, and I was like, great. And then so I left the house, I locked the door, and got an Uber rush, and then as we would go on the road, on the way to his job, the driver was trying to calm me down because he saw me. I was freaking out. I was stressed out. And then the moment we, arrived at his job, I asked the driver to wait for me for a few minutes in case, I couldn't find my husband, find Alice. And he was so kind to wait. I appreciate that. And so I look around. It was like already 3 a.m. I look around, and there was actually some people just hanging out. And there was like a pool hall near the job. And so, and I saw his SUV park in the corner. And so there was like this Latino or Hispanic couple in the car. I don't know what they were doing there. I just went up to that car. I knock on the window and asked them if they have seen Alice. because they were definitely regulars at the liquor store. And they were saying, no, they didn't know. I checked in the SUV. There was nothing in there. And I was thinking in my head, like, what if they abducted him? They kidnapped him? I don't know what. And so I went to the pool hall, and there was, like, newspapers, like, completely blocked the window and the door. And it was kind of shady, sketchy. But I hear activity going in the back. I hear voices behind there, and there was, like, light. I can see it through the newspaper. And so I went there, and I knock harder, knock all the time, knock until someone actually entered the door. And I kept knocking, and then so finally someone came to the door and lifted the newspaper up to check who was at the door knocking. And I knocked again because she was about to ignore me. I knock again, and then all of a sudden she said, like, oh, you need to go to the back alleys if you want to go to the pool hall. And I'm like, back alleys? That's sketchy. And then it was really dark, and so I took that risk, so I walked and went to the back alley, and then I saw Alice sit on a chair, and there was like these two tall guys standing in front of him like he was being cornered or something. And so I walked right up to Alice, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Why didn't you answer my call? Why didn't you respond to my text? And I went on and ranting. And so he got up, and then we walked together quickly to our SUV, like quickly. And as we walked to the car, there was a other guy, a very tall guy, a Spanish guy, he walked and followed us behind us. And so I stopped, and I look at him like, what are you doing? What do you want? And then so he stopped. We were just looking at each other. He stopped, and he just turned away. And so we were like in shock, like, okay. And he could literally do anything to us at that moment he wanted to. But no, he just turned away. And then we went to the car, and we drove away quickly to the house. We made sure that we weren't being followed. And, we were just going like back road, avoid being followed. So we went and rushed. And then we got home, hugged each other. We were like so thankful that we were safe. And he was telling me like how he was so shocked to see me showing up. He wasn't expecting that. And I was like, of course I would be there. I would worry, like dead worry. And so he was telling me that apparently he was being ambushed, that the moment he tried to get out of the parking lot to go home, there was a car like going, like literally coming into the parking lot and parked right behind his car and asking for gas. Like, it was not like asking, like they were demanding it. And so he had no choice just to go along with it and help them. And then like after that, he was at the pool hall, and they were trying to recruit him to be part of the group. I don't know, like prosecution. I don't know what they were trying to do. Like they were trying to recruit him, trying to convince him to be part of that group, and he didn't want that. And so, we hugged each other again, and then we started thinking crazy, like, let's sell the house and let's get out of here because it's crazy, and we shouldn't be working anymore, and it's insane. And we were just thinking insane, just making plans, whatever. But then, we waited the next day to calm down, to think about it, not to make insane decisions, stuff like that, and find a way, another solution. And so, yeah, I would say that was the craziest moment. But I felt that's when I knew faith, like, took me there and to rescue him. And I was like, I just did it. Pretty much walk by faith, not by sight. Boom. Crazy, right? And that's one of my favorite verses, I would say. Probably the one of my first verse in that Bible. Now I knew what it really means, honestly. And so, with all the things that I went through in my whole life, being the darkness and whatever I was facing, and I felt like God has so much patience, just waiting for that moment, like, oh, I want her to come to see me. I want her to build a relationship with me. And there I was, and it took me a long time to do that, I know. I don't know why it took me that long. And to end all of this, and to end my sharing my testimony, I can tell you that, God, He sees you, He hears you, He knows you. As I said before, I definitely know that He never abandoned his children. You may not see that he's working. You may not feel that he's working, but he is. And he knows your path. He knows your plan. And all you can do is just trust in him. And that's what I'm working on. And I'm not perfect. My past was not perfect. But, I'm willing to change everything. I'm willing to forgive. And I think, I hope that my testimony will encourage more to be closer to God, to build relationship with him, to trust in him. And I hope that helps. And, you're not alone. You're really not alone. If you love Jesus, he's always there with you. Always. No matter what. And so, whatever you're going through, just pray. Read the Bible. If you have no problem spending at least an hour or so on Instagram, any other social media, then reading the Bible and praying to God, it shouldn't be an issue. And, the moment that you follow Christ, that everything's lifted off of your shoulder. You feel light. And you don't feel like you're in the dark anymore. You feel love, protected. And he watches over you. And so I hope this testimony does encourage many more believers and hopefully open the heart of unbeliever and be closer to Christ. I will do. And please, thank you for watching my testimony. And, thank you. Really. And thank you for sharing my testimony. And I hope this encouraged you to be a lot closer to Christ. And so, God bless you.